What comes next? Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it is a big headline today, an important day for Lieutenant Ridge Alconis and for his family. And we want to get behind the headline in terms of what's been taking place in these 507 days. And someone who's been in many of those conversations and doing some really heavy lifting well beyond what you normally see in these kinds of situations. That's Utah Senior Senator Mike Lee, who's been an integral part of getting Lieutenant Alconis back heading to the United States. And he joins us live on the line from Washington, D.C. Senator, thanks for jumping on with us today.
Thanks so much, Boyd. Good to be with you.
It's a good day. We're heading things in the right direction. For our listeners, just give us a little bit of the backstory with Lieutenant Ridge Alconis and some of the things that you've been doing to help get him back home.
Lieutenant Ridge Alconis is a hero. He's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. He's an expert in his field. He's published academic papers all over the world. And really an asset to the United States Navy and to the American people. About a year and a half, about 2.5 years ago, Ridge Alconis and his family were driving, and he experienced the symptoms of a medical condition he had no idea that he had. And he suddenly passed out, lost consciousness at the wheel. As a result of losing consciousness, he was involved in a car accident in which 2 Japanese citizens were tragically killed. Now, look, in the United States, something like this would be chalked up to an accident because that's what it was. There might be some civil litigation involving the insurance companies and so forth, but we don't imprison people for things like that in the United States. In Japan, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, especially if it's a foreign national and a member of the U.S. military, which is tragic. So after some legal wrangling, they ended up sending him to prison nearly a year and a half ago, and he's been in prison the entire time. During that time, I've been to Japan. I've visited him in prison. I've met with officials in the Japanese government and with U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, pleading at every moment to get him out. Today, he's on his way back to the United States. He's due to touch down at LAX soon, if he hasn't already touched down. And we're glad to have him back on U.S. soil. This is not the end of his legal situation. It'll now be up to the U.S. Parole Commission, an entity that used to have a far-ranging role in the U.S. prison system, whose role is now largely limited to deciding the fate of U.S. citizen prisoners transferred back to the United States under the prisoner transfer treaties, as is the case here. So in the coming days or weeks, he'll meet with the U.S. Parole Commission. They will decide his fate, whether he has to serve additional time, if so, where and how much time in the United States before being released.
And this was such a long process, and again, I know it's one that you took special interest in, Senator, working both with his family, as you mentioned, those trips to Japan, meeting Lieutenant Alconis in prison. You also spent time with Japanese leaders and officials trying to help navigate that. There was a settlement as far as the monetary side of things, and yet there was still kind of that surprising prison sentence there in Japan. Kind of guide us through your interactions with the ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, and then some of those Japanese leaders, and ultimately what got to today and Lieutenant Alconis being back on American soil.
Yeah. First of all, U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, he and I come from very different ends of the political spectrum, but I consider him a friend after all of this. He's been an absolute champion in helping to get Ridge out of there, and I commend him for that, and I've enjoyed getting to know him better as a result of this. We overlapped a little bit when he was in the House and I was in the Senate, and then he was, of course, President Obama's chief of staff while I was in the Senate. And but I've gotten to know him a lot better as a result of this. He's done amazing work. Yeah, I met with then Japanese Foreign Minister Hayashi in trying to secure the early release of Lieutenant Alconis. And we had in place what I thought was a deal, what was presented as a distinct understanding in which he would be released. This was a year ago, August, so 14, 15 months ago or so, and that didn't materialize. It didn't materialize until today. And look, there's no reason why this should take this long. This is why I continue to be very frustrated with the Japanese government, not just because of what was presented to me as a deal, never transpired, or at least didn't transpire for nearly a year and a half, but also and especially because let's remember why Lieutenant Alconis was there. He was there on U.S. military assignment. The United States military, especially the United States Navy, plays a very significant role in providing the security for Japan. And, you know, it's interesting. Japan has exactly one overseas military base. It's in Djibouti. And their status of forces agreement with Djibouti requires that Djibouti provide full civil and criminal immunity to all of their military personnel in Djibouti. It's tragic, really. As many military personnel as we have in Japan are not given the same courtesy. Not only are they not given full immunity, they're not even treated as well as their own citizens. In fact, you mentioned the settlement process. You know it as the cultural settlement process that is informal outside of the court, known as the gomenasai. It's a means by which there's an official apology given along with a cash payment. They made I think, record-breaking gomenasai payment of $1.65 million or so. Having put together insurance proceeds, contributions from family, friends, and other well-wishers. And normally when that gomenasai payment is made and accepted, as it was, there is no prison time. Right. They didn't handle it that way this time, and I think it was entirely because of the fact that this was a U.S. military person. This is unfortunate, and this indicates that it is high time for us to renegotiate and explore the terms of our very generous status of forces agreement between the United States and Japan. It's very generous toward Japan and penurious with regard to the rights and the civil liberties and the criminal protections attached to U.S. military personnel serving in Japan, protecting Japan.
Yeah, so important, all of those things that have come to light as a result of what Lieutenant Alconis has gone through. We were texting earlier today, and I know you have had communication and connection with the family throughout all of this and had some early this morning as news broke. Give us a sense of what you've heard from the family. How are they feeling? What are they anticipating? Give us some perspective there.
Yeah, I've been in close contact with the family. Spoke to Brittany Alconis, Lieutenant Alconis' wife, just in the last couple of hours. And she's in good spirits. She's encouraged. She's happy that he's coming home. Of course, she's understandably got some apprehensions based on the uncertainty of what happens now. Now that he's back on U.S. soil, decisions will have to be made about whether he has to serve more prison time. That's ultimately going to be up to the U.S. Parole Commission. I hope, I expect, and I know that there are some very capable lawyers that are representing the family, representing Lieutenant Alconis, that will make a very strong case to the U.S. Parole Commission that Lieutenant Alconis should be released. He should be released having spent a year and a half, crime punishable by imprisonment at least in the United States. They need to let him out, and I hope that's what they'll do in the coming days or weeks.
Fantastic. Utah Senior Senator Mike Lee, we appreciate you carving out some time on a very busy day in our nation's capital. Important work, and again, the beginning of change and a new day for Lieutenant Alconis. Great to get him back on U.S. soil, and as you said, Senator, we hope the rest of the process proceeds swiftly so that he can be fully reunited with his family. We appreciate your effort and your behind-the-scenes work. Hard work, heavy lifting on a very long 507 days. We appreciate your efforts there, and we look forward to continuing to see this progress and ultimately for Lieutenant Ridge Alconis to return to his family. Thanks so much for joining us today, Senator.
Lieutenant Alconis' story.
Again, grateful to have Utah Senior Senator Mike Lee. And this is a lot of the things that we look at with our elected officials that we often miss out on. It's the stuff that isn't about big battles, that isn't the back and forth and the to and fro of politics in Washington, D.C. in general. These are the things where everyone comes together. And you could hear that from Senator Lee, his connection with Rahm Emanuel, former chief of staff to Barack Obama during his presidency, that they came together. It was an American citizen. It was their family. It was their freedom at stake. And that's when all the politics goes aside. That's when leadership steps forward. And this is a good day. After 507 days, again, Lieutenant Ridge Alconis, beyond that headline, is on American soil and has a good process ahead. We hope it's swift and that they have a very happy Christmas this year together as a family. That wraps it up for this segment. Stay with us. More Inside Sources coming up next.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Think about all the ways you use your phone. But are you getting KSL's breaking news updates?
We've got a storm to start the day.
Israel Defense Forces are adamant that they're just following protocol.
The White House is getting worried about Russia's growing relationship with Iran.
The vacancy left in the Quorum of the 12 Apostles has been filled.
Get alerts, links to important story articles, and updates on severe weather and traffic. Text the word news to 57500. That's the word news to 57500. And stay connected to KSL News Radio.
One of the things that I love most about our friends at Hercules Credit Union is they don't just talk the talk, they actually walk it. A lot of people will tell you you're special. That's a pretty easy thing to do these days. Our friends at Hercules Credit Union actually show that you're special, and they're doing that right now in a pretty special way. If you open up a new checking account, you will qualify to get a premier checking account status for free. No monthly fees. Your opportunity to get all the benefits that come from being a premier checking account holder. You get identity theft protection, the ultimate in that, travel benefits, cellular care coverage, accidental damage, and the list goes on and on. All of this is as a way of Hercules Credit Union showing you that they do think you're special, and they're going to make sure you feel that you're special. So check them out at their locations in Taylorsville, Harriman, Riverton, or Salt Lake City. Or, as always, with Hercules Credit Union, you can just find them online. So simple. HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. Or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Jeff Kaplan here for my good friends at Advanced Window Products. Jake Weber and Nate Orchard are spreading the holiday cheer with their biggest sale of the year. If the wind whistles through your windows, if you want a fresh new look for your number one investment, your home, call Advanced Window Products and take advantage of this incredible end-of-year sale. Replace all of your windows and frames, and you get $2,500 off. But that's not all. You get a free premium glass upgrade. Insulate your home against the cold with double pane windows and stylish frames, any style, any color, and they're built custom right here at their headquarters in Salt Lake City for 37 years. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. Plus, an additional $2,500 off and a free premium glass upgrade. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage. Call now, Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
Protect your heart and your family. The American Heart Association and Live Fierce Take Action sponsor Optum urge you to get your flu shot today. Learn more at heart.org/flu.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a U.S. Navy officer has been held for over a year in Japan has finally been released. Second, the Utah Highway Patrol expects to arrest about 600 people for DUI during the holiday period. And third, in his annual news conference, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he wants dialogue with the United States. The U.S. State Department says it doesn't work too well with the ongoing war in Ukraine. Right now, 43 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Well, as hard as it may be to believe, we are now officially 1 month away from the Iowa caucus, which, of course, is on January the 15th. And as election season begins in earnest after the holidays, it's worth taking a quick snapshot to take stock of where things stand, who's received the endorsements of governors and all the early polling and so on, what matters, what doesn't, what's hype, what is real substance. Where do the voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, where do they actually stand, and what do we expect to see coming up next month, starting on January the 15th? So let's dig into all of that and the dynamics of what's going on. We'll start on the Republican side of the aisle. That's where most of the action is, as, of course, President Biden is mostly unopposed. There's a few little candidates in there on the Democratic side. Representative Phillips is really the only contender there, and not much of one at this point in the program. So we'll focus on the Republicans right now. In Iowa, which, of course, kicks it all off, recently Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds gave her endorsement to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
We need someone who won't get distracted but will stay disciplined, who puts this country first and not himself. That leader is Ron DeSantis.
So that's the big endorsement coming out of Iowa. And then, of course, following Iowa, we shift our attention to New Hampshire, where New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu gave his endorsement to Nikki Haley.
So let me bring out my friend, someone who I could not be more proud of, someone who looks the people in the eye, answers their questions, and most importantly, has taken the time to earn the trust of the citizens and voters of this state. The next president of the United States, Nikki Haley!
That was Governor Sununu in a rare moment of a great burst of enthusiasm. So the question, of course, is will either of those endorsements matter a whole lot in either of those states? I'm one who doesn't give a whole lot of stock in endorsements. Whether you give them, receive them, whatever it is, I don't think they really impact voters a whole heck of a lot, unless you're really unknown and you just need a little credibility or validation. So I don't think either of those moves, either by the governor of Iowa, I don't think that really moves the needle for Governor Ron DeSantis. I don't think Chris Sununu endorsement will make a big difference for Nikki Haley. So we'll see how it plays out. In both of those states, it's the slow slog, knocking doors, shaking hands, attending cottage meetings. That's where those states are won. And it's ground game, it's discipline, it's campaigning 101. It's old school, old style campaigning. And so it will be interesting to see if either of these candidates, Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, can do better in those states than predicted, where former President Donald Trump still has pretty significant leads among likely caucus goers. That's the important thing. Any other poll in Iowa is irrelevant because the only thing that matters is, are you willing to show up on a very dark, cold night in Iowa on the 15th of January and stay for about 4 hours to caucus? Those are the only voters that actually matter on that night. And so we'll see if any of those really do show up and show out for Ron DeSantis and make a difference there. We'll see if Nikki Haley's recent rise from the debate stage and getting some national attention as well as some big money endorsements. If that will really move the needle and tip the scales there just a little bit. Now, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin joined the Wall Street Journal CEO Council earlier this week to talk about the state of politics in America. He addressed his recent announcement that he's not going to run for re-election in the Senate. So why are we talking about that? Well, because he is traveling across the country to explore a movement for an independent option for President of the United States.
I start in January. I'll be 2 months on the road. All we're trying to do is just mobilize people like myself who feel like they're homeless, politically homeless. I don't recognize the Democratic Party that I have a D by my name. I have a lot of Republicans don't recognize the Republican Party that have ours by their name. And I hear it every day. We're making you all pick a side. And the options aren't real good. And everyone's giving us feedback that they don't want to go with the options they might have. And about Super Tuesday, you're going to know exactly, for sure, what options you have. And for 150 to 160 million people that'll be voting in November, and you have 60 to 70% of each respective party that has a duopoly of a business giving you a choice you don't want, it's not a good situation.
Yeah, the duopoly of the two-party system is not giving anybody the options they really want. Now, Senator Manchin also addressed his concerns about that two-party system, that duopoly, and how it's been weaponized against the American people, and how big if for him, if he joins the race for president, he won't be running as a spoiler candidate.
There might be a movement, there might not. That depends. I really don't know. I will not be a spoiler. I've never been a spoiler in anything. I get into something, I get in to win. The difference about winning is this. The political process has gotten to the point of this visceral hatred that I've got to create you as an enemy and hate you in order to compete against you. I've never done business that way. I want to beat you, but I don't want to defeat you. And now it's almost, I've got to just despise you because I've got to destroy you. I can't do that, and I don't think that's who America is. I said, we have enough enemies around the world. I don't need to create any more here. And that's what the system is. They've weaponized it, and Donald Trump has been able to normalize it.
We could just play that clip over. That's 37 seconds worth going back and listening to. I want to defeat you, not destroy you. We have to do this different. We've had our two-party system weaponize the politics. Former President Trump normalized it. That's the scary thing to me is we've normalized really bad, deplorable behavior. And it's going to be up to we, the people, to do something different. So that's also going to be something we're going to keep our eye on as we move to Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. It's not just about the battle for the nominee on the Republican and the Democratic side. It's will there be a movement amongst the American people to say we're tired of the duopoly? Some people think it's a monopoly with two heads. Are the American people ready to do something different? Joe Manchin says this is not about being a spoiler. This is about offering a better path and a better way, and we'll continue to watch all of that. All right, time to step aside for some bottom-of-the-hour news. Don't go anywhere. Much more Inside Sources coming up next on KSL News Radio. Stick around.
1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top local story this hour. State troopers are urging people to celebrate the holidays responsibly in what's one of the most dangerous times of the year for drunk driving. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
DUIs and holidays go pretty hand in hand in Utah and elsewhere, but Utah Highway Patrol Major Steve Salas says Christmas and New Year's are when they see them the most.
You have people that have multiple days off, and historically just more celebrations.
Between December 1st and New Year's, authorities will arrest usually 800 to 900 people around the state for driving under the influence. Salas says people's biggest mistake is overconfidence.
When people start drinking and they become overconfident, they don't feel that they are impaired, even if it's just several drinks, and statistics show they are.
Salas says the best thing you can do is plan ahead of time how you're getting home safely. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says he's talking to Israel's prime minister about a new military offensive plan.
He did talk about possible transitioning from what we would call high-intensity operations, which is what we're seeing them do now, to lower-intensity operations sometime in the near future. But I don't want to put a timestamp on it.
Kirby declined to elaborate on what those low-intensity operations would include. Your money at this moment, Dow is up 127 to 37. 37,217. Coming up, sunny skies and rising temperatures. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
At Common Spirit Holy Cross Hospitals, we're honored to carry the legacy of our namesake and to extend the legacy of care in our communities. We're part of 20 hospitals and 240 clinics across Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
With our roots in northern Utah, Common Spirit Holy Cross Hospitals have a legacy of caring to help every person be whole and healthy. We're part of 20 hospitals and 240 clinics across Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
In 400 AD, a forgotten time in ancient America, warrior prophet Moroni must preserve the history of his fallen nation while being hunted by a ruthless tyrant.
Where is the brave general now?
From Freestyle Releasing and Great Scott Entertainment comes
The memory of my God,
The Oath.
my faith and my freedom, my wife and my son.
The Oath, now playing in theaters. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. More information is available at oathmovie.com.
Merry Christmas, honey.
A Bernina embroidery machine? It's wonderful.
Bernina products are wonderful Christmas gifts that you'll love and use. Take advantage of these holiday specials at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Save thousands of dollars on world-famous Bernina sewing machines, such as the B700E for $2,999, the B500E $1,999, and get a free $2,000 embroidery module when you purchase the 770 Cafe machine.
48 months, no interest on certain machines.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
25% off all Bernina luggage, embroidery hoops, and presser feet.
Amazing bargains on previously owned and demo machines with warranties at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Cypress checking account members enjoy discounted rates on auto and RV loans, free access to credit scores reports, and other products and perks. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Cypress Credit Union. Your future is our future.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Len.
Thank you, Claire. In Davis County, Syracuse to be exact, a crash eastbound Highway 189 at 2000 West in Syracuse, and it's on the right shoulder. Also, we have construction northbound on Legacy Parkway. That's jamming the ride from Centerville to Glover Lane in Farmington. And a crash in North Salt Lake. Been there for a while. US 89 at Center Street. No delays. Get your photos with Santa at Jordan Landing Shopping Center this holiday season. Located in Entertainment Plaza across from the Cinemark. Check out jordanlanding.com for hours and additional details. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
The high today is 42 degrees. Temperature is rising after that into the 50s on Monday. The sun sticks around as well as with partly cloudy skies. Air quality isn't too bad today, but the haze settles in tomorrow and sticks around for a few days. Right now it's 43 and fair. I'm Claire Scott, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
One State Department program valued by many American families is called Au Pair. The Au Pair program pairs an American family with a foreigner in their early 20s to provide child care in exchange for housing and a stipend. It's been a valuable cost-saving alternative to traditional child care and a great place for cultural exchange for a long time, but that may soon change, and we want to look into why that may change and what that might be in terms of impact. And really pleased to have joining us for the first time on the program, Paige Winfield Cunningham, deputy editor of the 202 franchise for the Washington Post, something we rely on heavily on this show and all of our experts there. And Paige oversees the politics and policy newsletters. And Paige, welcome to Inside Sources.
Well, thanks for having me on. Great to speak with you.
So give us some context in terms of this program. Give us a little of the history in terms of this Au Pair program, and then we'll get into some of the things that might change and why.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I first sort of got wind of these proposed changes a couple weeks ago. I've had a lot of friends who have hosted au pairs for their children in their homes, and I started getting texts and emails from them. And we can talk about the changes in a little bit, but the Au Pair program essentially was set up in 1986, and it was set up as a cultural exchange program as a way to allow young foreigners about 18 to 26 years old to come into the U.S. to live with a host family and to provide childcare in exchange for room and board. And, it's been a program that's been valuable for a lot of families for a number of reasons. For one thing, you end up, you have live-in, child care. You've got someone there to help with your kids. You also, for the students, the student that is living with the family, they, of course, get to experience all of the things about living with an American family. They get to practice their English. There's an educational component where a lot of them will take English as a second language classes. And, of course, they get to travel around the country during their vacation time. So, it's a program that has, been around for decades and has been used by a lot of families. In fact, there's 29,000 au pairs in the program right now, and thousands come in every single year. And, of course, the program is regulated by the State Department. And so there are a lot of rules around it. Families are required to adhere to certain rules and limits on how many hours a week the au pairs can work, how many hours a day they can work, et cetera. That's the basic program, and it's especially skyrocketed in popularity since the pandemic, when, of course, many children were only given access to, virtual education and daycare shut down, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's been an important part of that. And again, I think it's been important both as a great thing for families, great cultural exchange, and really provided some great things. And so now we're looking at some changes to that from the State Department. And as all programs, you have to look at updates from time to time. But this one has definitely sparked some interesting reaction, especially from families who are saying, hey, rather than having this immersive family experience, now suddenly it's a transactional experience. And so give us some sense of what those changes are, why they're going there, and what that ultimately will do to the program.
Yeah, well, the State Department has been looking into updating the program for a number of years. It really hasn't gotten any updates since 2009 when they set the weekly stipend at about $200 a week. And, of course, there's been a lot of inflation since then. So there's been some conversations around sort of modernizing it. And the au pair agencies that I spoke to, and these are agencies that help to match the au pairs with the families and then oversee the program. They said to me they would totally be on board with a modest increase in the stipend, maybe with considering some things around extra protections for the au pairs to make sure they're not exploited by families. But what I'm hearing is that these proposed rules that were proposed by the State Department in October, that they would go much, much further. They would require host families to pay considerably more money to the au pairs. They would require a lot more reporting. If your schedule changes even a little bit from week to week, you would have to get that approved. Host families couldn't pay a flat stipend. They would have to sort of engage in these complex calculations, looking at, the cost of living in their area, and then they'd have to deduct like the price of, the estimated price of the meals the au pairs consumed. And so, what I'm hearing from the families is that because there are all these extra reporting requirements, it would just sort of change the nature of the program into something that's more like an employment program rather than cultural exchange, and the nature of, when the au pair program is working well, you can there's a wonderful relationship between the family and the au pair. They really sort of become like a member of the family, and, you certainly are, certainly are working for you, but there's also this degree to which, they accompany you on your family outings, they share meals with you, some au pairs travel with their families for the holidays. And so I think the concern is that sort of treating this like a labor employment program would just kind of cut into that kind of familial relationship that is supposed to sort of develop organically between the au pair and the family.
Yeah, and I think that's such a powerful component to that. And one of the things that you pointed out in the 202 today, which I thought was so powerful, was that, this is about immersing them in that family-like structure. This is not to be an employer-employee, and that this program really isn't for the rich. This is really designed to have people that can't afford that big daycare or that big help in terms of the children. I know there's been some interesting things. You reported this as well in the 202 today, as far as some opposition to some of those new regulations in the Senate, bipartisan with Senator Shaheen and Senator Tillis. What else are you hearing, and what are you going to be watching for, particularly as we roll into the new year?
Yeah, well, I think this is something that's going to really play out into 2024. The rule, or the public comment period on the rule, was supposed to end in a couple of weeks, and I think the State Department has just been receiving such a flood of comments that they have agreed to extend that through the end of January. And I did talk to a spokesperson at the State Department today who stressed to me that they really want to collect as many public comments as possible. They don't want the perception that this is something they're just kind of going to barrel on through without taking into consideration all the concerns. And, I asked them for a timeline. They weren't able to provide that, but they did tell me that they plan on taking the time to look through every single one of the comments they've received. And that's a lot. At this point, they have 7,500 comments. So they're going to be going through all of those. I've heard some talk of potentially a public hearing on this. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but that's been put in the mix. And so, what we can sort of expect, I would imagine, is an extensive review of the comments. And then at some point in 2024, some kind of revisions perhaps to the proposed rules. Their intent, of course, is to put out a final rule at some point. But even when that happens, I think there would be a window of time before those changes would go into effect. So I'm really curious to see, if and how the State Department responds to some of these concerns, particularly the concerns around this new system for calculating the stipend, some of the reporting requirements, and the change to the weekly, hourly requirements from 45 hours to just down to 40 hours. So those are all things I'll be looking for.
Fantastic. Paige Winfield Cunningham, deputy editor of the 202 franchise for the Washington Post. She oversees politics and the policy newsletters. And again, this is a vital resource for us here on Inside Sources. Should be part of your everyday as well, to cut through the rage and get to the reason and the things that actually matter most. Paige, thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to having you back.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll step aside for a quick break. Coming back, gift buyers aren't the only ones who tend to overspend around the holidays. Congress tends to spend a heck of a lot. They have a little bit of spending spree before they head out for the holidays. We're going to take a look with our friend Romina Bacha, talking about where that spending is going, how it's impacting you, coming up next on Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Some stories affect our roads.
Not enough detail in the environmental impact study could likely pause the gondola.
Some affect the taxes we pay.
$61 billion in aid for Ukraine.
Some stories affect everyone.
Just rent because buying is so unachievable.
As 2023 comes to a close, no matter the news story, traffic jam, or winter storm most important to you, we'll talk about it here.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
As we get to the end of the year, a lot of us have a lot of those what ifs. What if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? And I know for far too long I was in the what if category when it came to getting my health and my weight under control. I did that from a what if to a what is 2 years ago. 2 years ago with SOTA Weight Loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days, and I'm 2 years down the road, and there is no what if. It's just what is. The results don't lie. It's the most powerful part of the SOTA Weight Loss program. You don't ever have to ask, does it work? Because the results are right there. When I talk about your journey on SOTA Weight Loss, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win. You've got all the support, all the resources, coaching, nutritionists to help you along the way. So start your journey today. Take your what if from 2023. Make it a what is in 2024 at SOTA Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family. Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
You can't expect a policeman to unclog your drain. You shouldn't ask a teacher to change your oil. And you wouldn't want a fireman to clean your teeth. So why would we let politicians take over our internet service? That's just not what they do. Experience proves government-run networks mean waste, corruption, and failure. One example, called Utopia, promised to provide internet service in 16 cities within a few years. But over 20 years and hundreds of millions of dollars later, a better name would be dystopia. They say it's almost complete. We say stop wasting our money. Go to nogovinternet.com and tell lawmakers enough is enough. Local tax dollars are precious, and public employees have plenty to do already. Don't let politicians mess with our internet. Paid for by nogovinternet.com, a project of Domestic Policy Caucus.
Guys, does she need a little escape this year? Introducing Cozy Escape Pajamas from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts. These PJs are just the getaway she needs. So take that time off and plan a holiday staycation. Cozy Escape Pajamas make the perfect gift for your special someone who deserves a little rest and relaxation. Treat her to luxurious next-level Cozy signature soft fleece. They're as light as a dream and will keep her oh so warm, like snuggling in her favorite blanket. She'll love to cuddle in Cozy Escape PJs on those extra chilly nights. With Pajamagram, you can even add gift packaging. Order now for guaranteed delivery by Christmas. She's missed out on a lot of things she loves this year, so this Christmas, give her the escape she deserves. These new PJs are selling fast, so order today. Go to Pajamagram.com right now. That's Pajamagram.com to order Cozy Escape Pajamas. Pajamagram.com.
Positive mortgage news? Interest rates have dropped and trending down from 2023 yearly highs. Click loansbyrick.com. Purchase or cashback loans. Visit loansbyrick.com.
Intermountain Medical Center in Murray, LDS Hospital in Salt Lake City, and Utah Valley Hospital in Provo are ranked among the 2023 list for best cancer hospitals in the nation by Newsweek magazine, with a high level of comprehensive personalized care and treatment they provide. Intermountain Cancer Center locations provide an integrated, personalized approach to cancer treatment care, close to home for patients throughout the Intermountain West, as well as telehealth services. Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
for the 3 things you need to know this hour. I'm Claire Scott. First, state troopers say the next 2 weeks are some of the most common times to see drunk drivers on the road all year. They're warning people to be vigilant and likewise be responsible. Second, the Federal Reserve says it will start dropping interest rates next year. Third, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby is in talks with Israel about transitioning their offensive military operations from high intensity to low intensity. Right now, it is 42 and fair in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, you know, it's pretty easy to fall into the habit of overspending, especially around the holiday season. I'm sure all of us have been guilty a time or two with spending a little more than we have. However, our lawmakers in Congress have made this overspending an annual tradition, especially right before the holidays, usually because they think nobody is looking. They think we're out spending our own money that we don't have, so they're more than happy to spend money we don't have as a country, which, by the way, is your money and my money too. So we're all in trouble there. So the question then is, are we just going to continue to indulge this habit of excess? And for how much longer can we really get away with this? So we want to look at what is Congress overspending on at this time of year, as they do every year, and then what can we do to change all of that? And to do that, we always turn to Romina Baccia, Director of Budget and Entitlement Policy at the Cato Institute. And Romina, great piece in the Washington Examiner talking about the Christmas spending spree. We're here once again. What is it that we're going to get on the Christmas tree from Congress this year?
Yeah, this year is different, thankfully, compared to last year. We had a much bigger Christmas spending spree last year because then Congress actually bundled all of the 12 appropriations bills, the annual funding bills to keep the government open, into a final Christmas deal. And they added a lot of unrelated items, including emergency spending, an expansion of welfare programs, a variety of changes to retirement programs, including new sweeteners and tax credits in that space. So last year was really, really bad. And this is one of the reasons that the new House Speaker refused to punt government spending to the end of the year so that we would avoid a massive Christmas spending spree again. The Senate this time is very eager to not leave town until they pass a new aid package for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. The president has also asked for more spending that he would like to label as an emergency for things that clearly are not an emergency, like increases in certain federal government employee salaries, more subsidies for child care, and things of that nature. But that is being debated right now. It looks like the Republicans are going to go on their winter recess and not pass that Christmas tree bill before the end of the year, but we don't quite know yet. It's too soon to tell. We'll have to see if the Senate decides to stay in town or not. If they stay in town, that's a bad sign because that means that they will try to use next week when most Americans will be busy getting ready for the Christmas holiday to pass, additional spending that is not paid for. But if the Senate decides to recess today as planned, then we may just dodge that bullet.
Yeah, and so interesting. And as you mentioned, Romina, this year we didn't have the big shutdown showdown, which is usually where all kinds of bad collusion spending happens. So this year, the strategies and the tactics are a little bit different. And I want you to dig in for us a little bit because you mentioned this, that President Biden is using the emergency spending label as a different way to get a lot of those things across the line and that spending spent. Give us a little description of that and why that becomes so problematic.
Yeah, we've seen a huge increase in using a budget gimmick, I would call it this stage, labeling something as an emergency, an easy way for Congress to get around spending limits, around limits that they agreed to earlier in the year, in this case with the debt limit deal in May. And then if you just label something an emergency, you can claim that you're staying within those spending limits, and then any spending outside of that you slap that label on doesn't count under those limits. But there isn't a clear definition that Congress is held accountable for as to what they can label as emergency. It's subject to interpretation, and there's no governing body that makes that judgment call. It's up to Congress to be responsible with that label, and they are not being responsible at all. They're just using it as a way to plus up the federal spending outside of the caps while claiming that they're not violating the agreement. Now, in the past, Congress had been more responsible using emergency spending primarily to respond to, sudden outbursts of war or major national disasters. But in more recent years, it's become a convenient tool to get around spending limits. And the problem is that Congress hasn't quite wrapped its head around the rise of this issue and the sheer scope and size of this issue. Next week, we're planning to release a new report that for the first time will tally up the past 30 years of emergency spending, and it shows that this is a sizable figure now. With $12 trillion of total emergency spending that we've been able to identify over the past 30 years, that accounts for almost 43% of the entire publicly held debt accumulated over that period of time. So it's a major driver of our deficits and debt, and we need to bring attention to the issues so the American people can hold lawmakers accountable, because the numbers are hard to find. And, if they say it's an emergency, it must be, but we do really need to look 2 and 3 times at what they're classifying as being for emergencies, because they're shooting loose with that term.
Yeah, shooting loose may be the understatement of the day. Romina Baccia is the Director of Budget and Entitlement Policy at the Cato Institute. And I just want to reemphasize something that Romina has shared and what she shared in her piece today at the Washington Examiner, that emergency funding deserves extra scrutiny because it faces less oversight and bypasses the typical considerations involved in good budgeting. And while everyone else is off on their own spending spree rolling into Christmas, Romina's going to keep her eye on this. We're going to keep our eye on it. And Romina, would love to have you back next week to talk about your new report, because those numbers are stunning to me, and we look forward to digging in to those with you next week, because that's an area that we've got to get our arms around if we're ever going to get this budget and spending stuff under control. Romina, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Again, that's Romina Baccia, Director of Budget and Entitlement Policy at the Cato Institute. There's nobody better on the budget stuff. Amazingly, and I can't wait to see this report and hear this from Romina. So as you run about doing your errands, getting ready for Christmas next week, tune in to Inside Sources. We'll have Romina back, and just listen to this number. Over the last 30 years, emergency spending has contributed 43% to the publicly held debt, $11.6 trillion of the $26.8 trillion debt totaled over those years. We got to get that one straight. Romina will help us work it all out next week, so stick with us. All right, that wraps up hour number 1 of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll step aside for some top-of-the-hour news, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Much more ahead in hour number 2 of Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. New expert recommendations say children struggling with obesity should start getting care as early as 6 years old. KSL News Radio's Emma Keddington has more.
26 hours is the recommended amount of counseling time kids should get every year to help balance their weight. That's what the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force says needs to happen in order to curb childhood obesity in America, which affects 1 in 5 kids. Logan-based dietitian Lee Palmer says this kind of care is important as long as it addresses individual needs.
Palmer says so many factors contribute to childhood obesity. She recommends that parents seek all-inclusive care that addresses issues like genetics and social pressure. A U.S. Navy lieutenant from Utah has been held in a Japanese prison, is now on his way home. Lieutenant Ridge Alconis was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison after a deadly car crash in 2021. The U.S. military determined Alconis had a medical emergency and passed out while driving. A Japanese judge ruled Alconis fell asleep at the wheel. The accident killed 2 people. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Good news for aspiring home buyers. Mortgage rates may have peaked. ABC's Dave Packer reports.
Some relief for Americans hoping to buy a home. For the first time since August, lending giant Freddie Mac says the borrowing cost of a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage has fallen below 7%, now sitting at 6.95%. At the current rate, a $400,000 loan would require a monthly payment of $2,648. That's $229 per month less than it would have cost 2 months ago. And the Federal Reserve indicating cuts next year to the federal funds rate will put even more downward pressure on mortgage rates. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 158 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up by about 27. And our KSL weather, look for sunshine, at least above the haze. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:02.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
A holiday message from Jackson Hewitt.
'Twas the yikes before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except Larry. See, the stockings weren't hung by the chimney with care, 'cause Larry's wallet was empty with no time to spare. So he went to Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan, got money so fast he rejoiced and went home. Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Go to Jackson Hewitt before it's too late. Get up to $1,000 fast, minus the wait.
Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
The holiday season is right around the corner, so give the gift that's hard to wrap but easy to give. Give them a Stihl. With powerful trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws to place under the tree, the Stihl Holiday Gift Guide has something for everyone. Save $20 on the BGA 57 battery-powered blower. Visit your local Stihl dealer or go to stihlusa.com/gift guide. Real Stihl. Find yours. Now $179.99 was $199.99 MSRP. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
Ho, ho, ho! Santa Claus is here! Have you been a really good boy or girl this year? Hold on to your elf. It's the Ultra Mega El Grande Fluffy Holiday Sale at PC Laptops on the best desktop and laptop computers on the planet. The holiday sale has started now so you can avoid crowd anxiety. This is it. We have brand new lifetime warranty desktop computers from $29 a month. You can also save up to 50% off our original prices on open box, scratch and dents, and demo models that still come with a lifetime warranty. That's right, up to 50% off. Holy mackerel. To make it extra sweet, we're doing 0 down, 0 interest until 2025. OAC 2025? So get into any one of our PC Laptops locations right now or check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com, because at PC Laptops, we love you! Ho, ho, ho!
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Lynn Thomas.
Thank you, Dan. There's a crash on the east belt about 4500 south. There's no delays in the area, though. Looks like it's out of traffic. Also a crash eastbound Highway 193 at 2000 West in Syracuse on the right shoulder in Davis County. Also in Davis County, construction on northbound Legacy Parkway is jamming the ride up from Centerville to Glover Lane in Farmington. The perfect present doesn't always come wrapped under a tree. Treat your loved ones with an unforgettable afternoon or evening of music and laughter with Utah Symphony. Find your tickets at utahsymphony.org/holiday. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Our KSL weather, air quality looking good today under sunny skies. Then the inversion starts to build again tomorrow, trapping pollution in the valleys, and highs will be in the 40s. Right now, 43 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, the most recent Republican primary debate for the presidential candidates highlighted some of the worst tendencies in our political discourse that are unfortunately becoming the norm because we reward bad behavior. So while bad candidates' behavior may encourage many voters to tune out, we want to get past the headlines of all of that, and I want to start looking at a roadmap for how we change the dynamic of debates, not just for presidential candidates, but for all candidates at all levels, and produce the kind of conversation the country actually needs. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
Well, sadly, what used to be a great part of the American tradition, debates, has unraveled and unwound and plummeted to the depths of social media narcissism. It is performative politics at its worst. And we have seen it on the left and the right and everywhere in between. During the most recent debate, which was held last week, hosted by News Nation, candidate Vivek Ramaswamy began attacking Nikki Haley over her stance on aid to Ukraine and foreign policy. Nikki Haley took shots from all sides during the debate, as she's been kind of the rising candidate into second place in a lot of the polls. However, the line of attack was so bad, was so full of red meat, vitriolic rhetoric, that another candidate on the stage, Chris Christie, felt the need to move in.
He has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence. If you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years. What we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman. You should stop insulting her.
I thought that was actually a great moment by Chris Christie on a debate stage, and he just had it. He said, look, disagree on the policy, debate the merits of the issue, but these personal, petty attacks by candidates is just beyond the pale, and it prevents us from having the real conversation. And so we've got to change the game, and what I want you to think again about today is debates. What they could be. So let's kind of get to the commanding heights of imagination today and see what they could be again. I recently had a conversation with Ben Voth, who's a professor of rhetoric at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. We talked about how we can, as a country, restore a better way to debate. So one of the key points that we talked about was to actually limit the time for the moderator questions and increase the time for candidates' answers.
We've gone pretty rapidly from about the 2000 debates to the 2020 debates to where Chris Wallace is occupying 25% of the 90-minute interval of speaking. That really is largely unnecessary, and it's setting up some very significant rhetorical and communication problems.
So what we were talking about was the fact that the moderators take so long now to set up a question and then ask a very pointed question, usually in a gotcha form or in a way to create controversy form, and then the candidate has 60 seconds or 90 seconds maximum to respond, and then everyone complains that we don't get to any substance in the debate. Well, if the moderator is occupying 25% of the debate, something's wrong. So we got to fix the moderator component to all of this, and I actually believe the longer a candidate has to speak, and not firing shots at the other people on the stage, but the longer they have to talk about what they think, what they believe, what they propose, what their vision is, the more illuminating those debates will actually be. So one of the ideas that we talked about to maximize the candidate time to speak on their positions was to eliminate the questions altogether and simply give the candidates a topic to speak on.
Instead of giving a long speech by the journalist or whoever's come doing the moderating, if they just said immigration, one word, go, all that time that went into setting up the question, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, could be given to the candidates so that they could give like a 3-minute answer to the question of immigration. The public is watching because they want to compare the positions of the candidates as they are in that time, in that context. So it'd be better to shorten the moderator question and let that time to give them to the candidate.
And I would even take it one step further. Just give them a word and then give them 3 or 4 minutes. No reference to any other candidate. No talking about the opposition party. Just talk about what is your position, your belief, your principles, your policy when it comes to this issue. So imagine a debate stage where you have the candidates there and the moderator says, healthcare. You have 4 minutes. And candidate number 1 goes, and then candidate number 2, and candidate number 3. And you don't have any of this crosstalk. You don't have any shouting matches. You don't have any pejoratives being thrown back and forth. I always go back to the initial Kennedy and Lincoln debate. Not Kennedy and Lincoln, Kennedy and Nixon debates. That would be interesting. Kennedy and Nixon, where there was actually only one podium. There was only one podium. And the two candidates, Kennedy and Nixon, sat in chairs. The question would be asked, and then one of them would go to the podium and give an answer, and then they would sit back down, and then the other candidate would get up and give their answer, and then sit back down. And if there was a rebuttal, they would have a chance to do that. But it was very polite and very focused on substance. And it was very different. And I always point out the fact that the opening statements in that presidential debate were 8 minutes long. 8 minutes. So they couldn't just do the talking points. You actually have to get to the substance. Now, I know we've had here in the state of Utah a former governor who used to ask candidates who were being interviewed for a judge role or a justice role. And rather than asking all of the long-winded questions, they would just give them a word. Regulation. Federalism. And you just throw the words out and see how people respond. Guns. What's the response? Because that's when you learn how a person thinks, how they process information, how they form their ideas and opinions, and how they present them. Which I believe is what we should be looking for in candidates, whether it's for governor or whether it's for a justice or whether it's for president of the United States. And so I think we have to really come out and say, if we're going to have these debates, let's do it different. There is no reason there is a reason why the American people have tuned out mostly on debates. Because it's a train wreck. It's painful to watch. Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, it's painful. And it's rarely productive. There's a gotcha moment. Someone will get in a cute quip or a funny one-liner. But you're not understanding how this person thinks or what their core values really are or how they would lead or what their vision is. And so we just keep rewarding bad behavior. And so let's do it different. And so we have to reimagine what a debate could be. I wouldn't even mind to bring the candidates on stage one at a time and give them one word and see what they do with it. Gun control, health care, border security, immigration. You have 4 minutes. And just let them go, because that will be more instructive. That will give us more insight in terms of the qualifications and the vision and direction and how that person would lead the nation than any of the stuff we've seen over the last several presidential election cycles. The debate system is broken. It is broken badly. It is playing into the kind of performative politics that is dividing the country. And so it's time to have big debates, big ideas. Not sound bites, not memorized quips and quotes, but real issues, real substance. And part of the way we do that is to get the moderator out of the way, put the issues straight forward on the table, and give them time to actually talk about it. Not talk about anyone else, not talk about anything else, but talk about that issue, because that will demonstrate how fit they actually are to lead. All right, that's an important think again moment for us today. is we've got to rethink what debates look like and sound like and are like in this country. If we want to have better governance, which is what this is about, sadly, what we're producing is better politicians, people who are better at the political game, the attention game, the social media game. But that's not what we elect people to do. We elect them to govern. So let's have a system and a process that shows us and demonstrates to voters how good that person could actually be at the job, which is governing.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. The BYU Cougars are on a roll.
For three, right corner. Let's go!
Saturday, BYU plays Georgia State. Make sure you're streaming the nationally ranked Cougars on the KSL News Radio app. BYU, Georgia State. Pre-game Saturday at 6 and tip-off at 7 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I am here to talk to the people who are concerned that there's somebody on your gift-giving list that is just so hard to buy for. Well, I have the perfect solution, and it's the gift of theater from Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do, this is easy shopping, go to hct.org. Maybe you could pick up tickets for Elf, or maybe A Christmas Carol, or maybe you want to get season tickets for that special person for an amazing array of entertainment next year. Clue, Fiddler on the Roof, The Time Machine, The Nutty Professor, The Addams Family, The Magician's Elephant, and Disney's Beauty and the Beast. That's an all-time favorite at Hale Center Theater. And gift cards are also the perfect gift-giving idea. It's time to go online, Hale Center Theater, hct.org. You can do all your Christmas shopping with the gift of theater.
You know, Deb, I'm a huge DIY guy, but one thing I'm not going to touch is electrical.
I've got the answer for you. You have to call Master Electrical. They have what's called upfront pricing. You know how bids can be a guessing game, and the longer an expert's in your home, the bigger the bill is? Not with Master Electrical. This upfront pricing is amazing.
Yeah, their pricing system won't even allow them to go higher.
They do everything that has to do with electrical. You need lights? Call Master Electrical. Ceiling fans, smoke detectors, generators, batteries, even EV chargers.
And all that pricing is upfront, and it's a guarantee.
Master Electrical proudly serves from Logan to Santa Quinn.
And they're always open, so if you have some emergency, they're there. So give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Or you can check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Do it today.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Advanced Window Products. Factory direct affordable windows. Call today and they're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindowsusa.com.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
We've been talking a lot this week about the 75th anniversary of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, talking about some important work that's been going on there. Of course, we highlighted earlier in the week Elder Quentin L. Cook of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, gave powerful addresses in front of Parliament and at a historic Coptic church in London recently. And then we also had Katrina Sweat joined us yesterday on the program, talking about some of her work there And now we're really thrilled to have joining us on the program Rob Howell, who's the Director of Interfaith Relations for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the communication department there, and deals with all of the interfaith relationships around the world, and is actually joining us today from Princeton University as part of an important gathering back there. And Rob, thanks for joining us on a very busy day for you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, let's start with that. Give us a little sense of the conference that you're attending. Who's there, and what are the conversations?
Yeah, it's been interesting so far. We're still in the middle of it, but it's kind of termed an international consultation on the future of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And so what they're talking about is how do we reinstill as faith leaders and as faith organizations and influencers, as well as academics who have faith traditions, how do we bring together this religious society and ensure that these values from our various faith traditions continue to shape and model the future? And we see the divisions in the world and the strife and the contentions and the different things there that make life difficult for so many. And so this group is gathered together. It's co-sponsored by the James Madison Program here at Princeton under the direction of Professor Robbie George. I mean, we've got rabbis from Israel, United States, and Argentina. We've got Buddhist monks from Thailand, Muslim representatives and imams from India, the United States, Indonesia, Turkey, an Anglican archbishop from Nigeria. There's Hindu representation from India and the United States, German evangelicals, Church of God in Christ, Catholics from the United States and Canada. So there's a long list of people who they've brought together today to discuss identifying elements within various faith traditions that people have maybe misused doctrines to weaponize religion, and then how to shape it going forward and to recontextualize not only the perceptions in society, but the actual followers of the various faith traditions to help them understand and help them understand each other and to really bring about more peace and more love. And my personal feeling is if people of faith can't figure out how to overcome the divisiveness, then where are we going to be? So that's part of the purposes of this particular conference or consultation, as they're terming it. And part of what really we do in the Interfaith Relations Division here at church headquarters and all of our folks around the globe, our church members who are engaged in interfaith work through a calling or just through their own interactions within their spheres of influence.
Yeah, and those are such crucial conversations, and I think you're right. If the faith groups can't figure out the path to peace, then we've got way bigger issues going on in the world. But it's often in those faith traditions that they can make that difference, and often they are making that difference. The extremes are usually such a rare exception, and yet there are so many people of faith around the world who are keeping that in their home or in their synagogue or in their church or their mosque, and not able to take that out into the public square and to have all of the good that stems from that in terms of work in the neighborhood and the community. What are some of the conversations in terms of how you attack that and create space so that people can take their whole authentic self, that can take their faith with them, not in a preaching way, but in a practicing way to really make a difference?
The first step is just understanding each other. And sometimes our own terminology and language kind of gets in the way because I'm saying something in terminology that my faith tradition uses all the time, and another faith tradition might have a similar word, but it means something different. Or we both have an identical belief on something, but we use different terminology to describe it. So it's getting to know people and understanding each other. And what you find, that's the beautiful part of what I get to be involved in every day, is you learn from each other and you find out that you have much more in common than we have different. We continually try to share the message that we're all children of God, and as such, we have a divine duty to love each other. And how do we demonstrate that love without listening and understanding who each other is and where they're coming from? So those are some of the things that we get to be involved in, and part of the discussion today actually here, but in other settings that I've been involved in around the world and in some of these different gatherings. And some of the most poignant ones are just the day-to-day ones with individuals.
Yeah.
On very local levels, it can happen on a regional area-wide level, and it can happen globally in the different situations I've been involved in. And that's part of the pleasure of what I get to do is to learn from and to gain inspiration from other faith traditions. Some people think interfaith, and they think, oh, well, I don't want to engage because I don't want to take away from what I believe. And they somehow misconstrue that it's going to be giving up part of what you believe to help agree with someone else. And that's not what I found to be the case.
Yeah.
And I think others that find out quickly that it really strengthens your own faith and is inspiring to me, the devotion from the various faith traditions. And there's things that I want to be more devoted at in my own faith.
Right.
And I learn from others. I hope that they take a little piece of my sincerity, of my path and my following the dictates of my own conscience in worshiping God.
Yeah.
And we can strengthen each other. And that's really what this world needs.
Yeah, no question about that. And there are so many areas. I know for me, I often find myself walking away from those conversations with a whole lot of holy envy for either something they believe specifically or the way they practice something uniquely. I love that. I want to get in real quickly into some of those meetings that you alluded to around the world and right here in Utah. We know over the weekend there was a meeting held with President Dallin H. Oaks of the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, and other key leaders with one of the largest Muslim delegations leaders. Give us a little sense of that. And I know that one actually began well before that, even a year or so ago, and you've been involved in all of those meetings.
Yeah, it was a pleasure this last weekend to host His Excellency Kai Haji Yahya Cholostakuf, who is the general chairman of the Central Board of the Nahdlatul Ulama, which is an organization of over about 100 million Muslims in Indonesia. So it's pretty much the largest Muslim organization in the world. And he was gracious enough to stop by Salt Lake City, and we were able to host him through our Orem Temple open house and have these wonderful meetings with our senior leaders. You're right, it did begin at a conference last year in Indonesia, where I was privileged to accompany Elder Gary E. Stevenson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and Elder Jack N. Gerard of the 70. Elder Homer was the area president from Asia at the time, and he was there. He was able to join us. He's since been reassigned to Salt Lake City, and so he was able to join us for this visit last weekend as well. And so Elder Stevenson kindly extended an invitation to Pak Yahya and said, hey, if you're ever in the United States, we'd love for you to come. And it turned out he was coming for this conference at Princeton, and so he came a weekend early, and we were able to enjoy that. It's an example of what our senior leaders are doing as they're traveling the world and meeting these significant faith leaders. You mentioned Elder Cook in London, and all of the brethren are traveling all the time. They're just simply amazing with their energy and their wisdom, and they're able to greet and meet these significant faith leaders and influencers from around the world and be who they're called to be as apostles of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so they exemplify that love and that sincerity, and then people are attracted to them and say, well, come visit us in Salt Lake. So we're constantly having these interactions, and it leads to some wonderful things, not just on an individual level, but it can lead to some collaborations of relieving suffering. It can lead to collaborations of strengthening families. It can lead to collaborations of protecting religious liberty. And again, it starts by understanding each other. Yeah. And we're just trying to love each other, as is our duty. And we're striving to do that ourselves and striving to help the world do that.
Yeah. Such a powerful, such an important thing, especially in the world that we live in. And it's amazing how small it can actually become. And often it's those faith organizations and groups that can really be the beginning of understanding. Rob Howell, thank you so much for stepping out of a very busy day there at Princeton, an important gathering of world faith leaders having crucial conversations about how we get to peace in our own lives and in our own communities and across the world as well. And as we always say, the day the journey begins is not the day the journey begins. And a lot of this is hard work and heavy lifting far away from cameras and television lights. And when we come back on the program, we're actually going to go back to a conversation we had with Elder David A. Bednar and Elder Garrett W. Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ, and the work that they did on a landmark pamphlet, Muslims and Latter-day Saints, Beliefs, Values, and Lifestyles. We'll take a look at that when we come back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. State troopers calling on people to be on the lookout for drunk drivers over the next couple of weeks. Utah Highway Patrol Major Steve Salas says now to New Year's is one of the busiest times for stopping people driving under the influence.
When people start drinking and they become overconfident, they don't feel that they are impaired, even if it's just several drinks, and statistics show they are.
Salas says they'll have extra patrols out to try and keep everyone safe. Over the past 3 years during the month of December, Salas says they arrest roughly 800 to 900 people for DUI. Skyview High School junior Dean Phillips was saved after a cardiac arrest thanks to his weight trainer. Curtis Kazir says Phillips feels like his own child.
The best part about my job is that I get to make form relationships with the student athletes at the school.
And Kazir credits the students in their training for saving Phillips. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy delivered a farewell address to Congress today after announcing that he would leave office at the end of the year. ABC's Andy Field has details from Washington.
Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy telling the House he had no regrets in actions he took that led to his own party voting to remove him from the job.
Do not be fearful if you believe your philosophy brings people more freedom.
Kevin McCarthy passing almost nothing in the House that received the Senate or President's okay, except avoiding a government default and shutdown, two actions that angered his own party enough to remove him as Speaker. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average ending the trading day up 158 points. The NASDAQ ended up 27 points today, and the S&P 500 was up 12. And our KSL weather, we'll see a lot of sunshine, but some haze, too, over the next several days. KSL News Time, 2:32.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Every year I tell myself, Doug, you can't procrastinate. It's time to get into Burt Brothers. Make sure that the vehicle I drive, the vehicles that Dee drives, and our family vehicles are all ready for winter. And Burt Brothers, boy, as these temperatures start to drop, soon the snowflakes are going to fall, the roads are going to be slick. You need peace of mind on Utah's snowy roads. Winter tires from Burt Brothers, they make all the difference. You can drive with confidence. Specialized tires designed to grip the road in the harshest conditions. They give you better traction, handling, shorter braking distances, and the gift of safety for you and your loved ones. And right now, save up to $130 back on 4 Bridgestone Blizzak tires through December 16th. That's only at Burt Brothers with complete auto care. They can take care of it all. Make sure you're not off on the side of the road with a little help from your friends at Burt Brothers. And there's a location for Burt Brothers near you.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Get your home's electrical system running in peak condition by scheduling a $79 whole home electric inspection with the professionals at Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric today. The electrical experts at Yes are ready to help identify unsafe conditions and possibly prevent expensive repairs in the future. Proudly serving Utah for more than 45 years. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
This is the lunch rush at your local deli. Orders are flying in. Online, on the phone, and in person.
Order for Nick.
So is it possible that fast internet could help your business outrun the rush? It is with Comcast Business. Up-leveling your speed with gig speed Wi-Fi, powering all your devices, and fast downloads and uploads, powered by the next generation 10G network. With Comcast Business, next level speed isn't just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Call or go online to learn more. Ends 12/20/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires gig internet and compatible router.
Protect your heart and your family. The American Heart Association and Live Fierce Take Action sponsor Optum urge you to get your flu shot today. Learn more at heart.org/flu.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. And here's Len Thomas.
Traffic is rolling along into the afternoon with slowing in Davis County northbound on Legacy Parkway in the construction, Centerville to Farmington. Otherwise, a good-looking ride in Utah County as well as the Salt Lake Valley and Weber County. I'm Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, air quality looking good today under sunny skies, but the inversion starts building again tomorrow, and that'll trap pollution in the valleys. Highs will be in the 40s, actually reaching up to about 51 by Monday. And right now, we're looking at 45 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
As we discussed in the last segment, this past week, the leader of 100 million Muslims visited Temple Square, had important meetings with senior leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The meeting was the result of years of bridge building. As I have said before, that the day the journey begins is not the day the journey begins. It starts much sooner than that. And over the last several years, the Church of Jesus Christ has been establishing and strengthening interfaith relationships with a host of other religious groups. In particular, they have had a renewed focus on building bridges with those of the Muslim faith. And I want to go back to a couple of conversations we've had on this program previously with Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and Garrett W. Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ, and their work in particular on a landmark pamphlet that connects Muslim and Latter-day Saints that I think is valuable and instructive for all of us. So first I want to go back to a 2021 BYU devotional. Elder David A. Bednar said that they had been working on this particular pamphlet for a number of years with a wide variety of Muslim leaders.
Over the past several years, our church and several Muslim imams and scholars have worked together intensively to prepare a pamphlet that we are pleased to introduce this evening. As you can see from the title, Muslims and Latter-day Saints, Beliefs, Values, and Lifestyles. It describes what we share in common, and that truly is much more than many people might expect.
I think that's such an important place of grounding for any conversation, and whether it's an interfaith conversation or whether it's a conversation across the back fence or in our local community, at a school board meeting, or across the country and around the world. We have much more in common than we might expect. Interesting, we had the opportunity to sit down with both Elder Bednar and with Elder Gong. Elder Gong described to me the good faith efforts that went into making this pamphlet that I have been describing and the impact that it can have on so many important interfaith conversations.
At the beginning of the pamphlet, we made a conscious effort to be sure that we weren't trying to interpret the Quran. We weren't trying to specify what people would believe or didn't believe. We tried to use the voices from those who were from the Islamic faith to speak for themselves, as it were. But in that process, in respect and mutual understanding, describe a way that we could learn more about our brothers and sisters and they could learn more about us.
In that same interview, I asked Elder David A. Bednar to explain what he hopes people would take away from this effort and this new resource.
I hope that it will help us to have different eyes, that we'll see differently, that we will listen differently. Perhaps this can be an example of how what we have in common is so much greater than that which is different or may divide us, and that you can build on that. You can derive strength from that, and you can assist and bless other people on that foundation of the commonality.
One of the things that I have always appreciated about Elder Gong as he reaches out around the planet, as he interacts with people from a wide variety of not just faith traditions, but business, economics, government backgrounds, he always says it's so important that we go in with an open hand rather than a closed fist. And so often in our conversations, especially in this country, especially when it comes to politics, and often when it comes to issues of faith, we go in this closed, tight-fisted, defensive crouch instead of having an open hand, which opens an opportunity for friendship, for understanding, for learning, for considering things we hadn't supposed before. opportunities for curiosity, for learning, for appreciation and admiration for what someone does or how they do it. I asked Elder Gong what his hopes were in terms of the kinds of conversations we could have if we changed the way we approach them.
We move beyond labels. We move even beyond stereotypical names. We move beyond stereotypes. We realize that we can have differences, but that what we have in common is always so much greater than what might divide us. And if we, in good faith and goodwill, will look for that, because our hearts are open and other people's hearts are open, we really do find that we can be united in those things.
And then finally, I want to wrap up from the 2021 event there at Brigham Young University. Elder Gong reaffirmed the commitment to protecting the religious liberty of all faiths.
As we meet with Muslim leaders across the world, we talk about defending religious freedom. People of faith need to stand together for tolerance and dignity of people of all religious beliefs.
So important as we get to this focus of religious freedom. We've been talking about that a lot this week as not a second-class right, a first-class right, a first freedom in the first freedoms, especially here in the United States of America. And so we have to talk about defending that right of people of faith and people of no faith, and doing that in a little different way. I think it's been interesting as we've gone through this process and things that we've explored during this past week. And the things that will be coming up in January, some very historic conferences held around the world relating to religious liberty and religious freedom, and getting to those things that actually matter most, and recognizing that without that freedom of conscience, that freedom of religion, that freedom of belief, that all of those are so intricately connected to all the other freedoms, the freedom to assemble, the freedom of the press. All of those are interconnected, and those first freedoms really are first for a reason, especially here in the United States. And that idea of tolerance, whether that's religious tolerance, whether that's tolerance in a way someone looks, way someone lives, way someone believes, those are all vital parts of the program. And it's vital to freedom everywhere. It's still stunning to me that about 80% of the world's population does not have those rights. It's so easy for us here in the United States of America to be very comfortable and just assume that because we have the freedom of speech, the right to assemble, the right to worship as we please, the right to publish and print, all of those things, that everyone else gets those too. But 80% of the world's population does not have access to those freedoms. And so it is important that we link and lock arms with people of belief and people of no belief. I think some of the greatest defenders of religious freedom are atheists and agnostics, because they also have the right of conscience that is important. I think of so many of the people we've had on this program. Some have been so stunning and stirring in terms of their commitment to why having someone's right to take their faith into the public square, to live what they believe, not just in the church or the mosque, but to take it with them where they go, because it makes them who they are, and it drives so many of the things that make civil society civil and make our community stronger. And it doesn't mean that you have to be out there evangelizing or proselytizing, but being able to take your belief with you and to live it is an important freedom, and it benefits society. It is the glue. I think of our friend Jonathan Rauch, who is an atheist, who is an adamant and ardent defender of religious liberty and the importance of faith in America. And so we all can come together around these things, and I think it's important that we do that right here from the state of Utah. And we all have a responsibility in our homes, in our communities and neighborhoods. It has to start here. We actually had Christina Sweat on the program yesterday, and she said, look, it has to start here. This is a place where these kinds of things can be valued and where they can be taken around the world and modeled and shown this is what it looks like. This is the difference it makes for countries. It lifts people. And you can have that kind of conversation in a pretty powerful way. All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside for one last break. When we come back, some final thoughts on Inside Sources. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Everybody knows that your credit history can have a huge impact on your life, Amanda, especially when you're just starting out as an adult.
That's why Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU's new Credit Builder loan is such a great idea. It's a way to build or to rebuild your credit.
All right, so let's talk about how it works. With Credit Builder, UCCU will open an account in your name and then provide that account with a fixed amount of funds along with a small automatic monthly payment. And as your automatic payments are made over time, of course, your credit builds, proving you're a responsible borrower and raising your credit score.
And that credit score is just so important because it determines the interest rates you'll get, higher credit limits, better loan terms because of your credit score.
And by the way, if you have kids in high school, open a Credit Builder loan in their name, and that way they're going to graduate from high school with a good credit score of their own.
It's called the Credit Builder loan from Utah Community Credit Union, UCCU.
Just call or text UCCU or stop by any branch and start building your credit today.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
Guys, does she need a little escape this year? Introducing Cozy Escape Pajamas from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts. These PJs are just the getaway she needs. So take that time off and plan a holiday staycation. Cozy Escape Pajamas make the perfect gift for your special someone who deserves a little rest and relaxation. Treat her to luxurious next-level Cozy signature soft fleece. They're as light as a dream and will keep her oh so warm, like snuggling in her favorite blanket. She'll love to cuddle in Cozy Escape PJs on those extra chilly nights. With Pajamagram, you can even add gift packaging. Order now for guaranteed delivery by Christmas. She's missed out on a lot of things she loves this year, so this Christmas, give her the escape she deserves. These new PJs are selling fast, so order today. Go to Pajamagram.com right now. That's Pajamagram.com to order Cozy Escape Pajamas. Pajamagram.com.
Kidney cars, donate your car today. Tax write-off, hip, 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 hooray. Kidney cars, give your car away. Tax write-off, and you will save today.
The staff of the National Kidney Foundation of Utah would like to wish you a merry holiday season and remind you that it is better to give than receive, but not better than giving and receiving. For example, if you give your car to the Kidney Foundation, you may get a tax deduction. Call 1-800-TOW-CARS with a K. That's 1-800-TOWKARS. To donate your used car to the Kidney Foundation, call 1-800-TOW-CARS with a K. That's 1-800-TOWKARS.
Kidney cars, donate your car today. Tax write-off, hooray!
Call 1-800-TOW-CARS with a K.
Merry Christmas, honey.
A Bernina embroidery machine? It's wonderful.
Bernina products are wonderful Christmas gifts that you'll love and use. Take advantage of these holiday specials at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Save thousands of dollars on world-famous Bernina sewing machines, such as the B700E for $2,999, the B500E $1,999, and get a free $2,000 embroidery module when you purchase the 770 Kate machine.
48 months, no interest on on certain machines.
Purchase the L890 Surger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
25% off all Bernina luggage, embroidery hoops, and presser feet.
Amazing bargains on previously owned and demo machines with warranties at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Deb, you may not believe this, but I actually do like to eat healthy food. I feel better when I eat healthy, and I do feel full.
I want you to start off 2024 the right way. Log on to fedupkitchen.com, and you can order clean, macro-based, low-calorie meals. Not only that, they have treats and green drinks.
And they're prepared fresh in their Salt Lake City kitchen.
Order today, and they'll be ready for pickup or delivery tomorrow.
It's healthy eating made easy with Fed Up Kitchen.
You can save time, you can save money, and get results with their delicious meals. And like we said, they are made fresh daily.
And because it's the holidays, we want to make sure there's a little gift for you. You can save 20% on your first order. All you have to do is use the promo code KSL at fedupkitchen.com.
That's right. Go to fedupkitchen.com, put in promo code KSL, and you're going to get 20% off your first order.
Take the guesswork out of healthy eating. Go to fedupkitchen.com and use the promo code KSL.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force says kids as young as 6 should be getting at least 26 hours of counseling every year to avoid obesity. Second, a U.S. naval officer with strong ties to Utah is being released back to the United States after over a year in prison in Japan. Senator Mike Lee has been arguing and working for his release. And third, for the first time since August, lending giant Freddie Mac says the borrowing cost on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage has fallen below 7%. 43 degrees and sunny right now in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today, as always. As we round out the program today, if you missed any of the segments, of course, we had Utah Senior Senator Mike Lee joined us at the top of the show talking about the release of Lieutenant Al Konis after 507 days in a prison in Japan and all the efforts that went on behind the scene. That was a complicated, intricate, delicate dance that was done to get him back on U.S. soil. He is back coming through LAX. He still has some things ahead of him, but we'll continue to monitor all of that here on KSL News Radio. But we appreciated Senator Lee joining us and giving us that behind-the-scenes look. And one of those components that I thought was so interesting was the relationship that Senator Lee developed with the ambassador to Japan, the U.S. ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel. Of course, Rahm Emanuel, most people know him as the chief of staff to President Barack Obama. And so here you had two people very far ends philosophically in terms of the political spectrum, but came together for the good of an American citizen, American soldier. And I think that's an important thing, that when things really matter, we can set all the partisanship aside and we can get down to the real issues of the day. And so it was interesting to hear about those conversations and what took place getting Lieutenant Al Konis out of that prison and back to the United States of America. Some important work. So if you missed that, go back to the podcast. Go to kslpodcast.com. Just click on Inside Sources. You can go through segment by segment and look at some of the conversations we've been having, some crucial conversations today, to be sure. And I want to actually go back to one of those crucial conversations with our friend Romina Baccia from the Cato Institute, because this is a time of year where a lot of us go a little crazy on the spending front. And so often we go spending and we think, oh, it'll be okay, I'll figure it out in January. Or I know I'm going a little over budget on the Christmas gifts, but it'll be okay, I'll figure it out in January. Well, nobody does that more, nobody does that worse than the United States Congress. So much of the bad spending that happens in this country happens right before Christmas. Why? Because normally we have a big omnibus spending package because we have to keep the government open. And so there's a big shutdown, showdown, and then you throw all the things in, all the little Christmas tree ornaments and little pet projects go in, and that's how you get $33 trillion in debt. That's why we are where we are. So in our conversation with Romina Baccia today, we actually learned that she was worried that the Senate was going to stay in session because she thought that's the most likely path to spend more money that we don't have. And during the course of our conversation, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer actually went to the Senate floor and told the senators, come back on Monday. We're not done.
If we believe something is important and urgent, we should stay and get the job done. That is certainly the case with the supplemental. It is important. It is urgent. I spoke with Leader McConnell this morning about the plan for next week and making sure the Senate continues to do our work. So, for the information of all senators, after we finish today, the Senate will return on Monday. That will give negotiators from the White House, Senate Democrats, Senate Republicans, a time to work through the weekend in an effort to reach a framework agreement.
So the Senate will be back in town on Monday, and of course the president has asked for $106 billion in an emergency aid package. There's another $56 billion in domestic energy funding request, emergency. And so with Romina Baccia, we took our conversation to this using the term emergency as a way to get around spending caps and spending discipline. Here's what Romina said.
Seen a huge increase in using a budget gimmick, I would call it this stage, labeling something as an emergency is an easy way for Congress to get around spending limits, around limits that they agreed to earlier in the year, in this case with the debt limit deal in May. And then if you just label something an emergency, you can claim that you're staying within those spending limits, and then any spending outside of that you slap that label on doesn't count under those limits. But there isn't a clear definition that Congress is held accountable for as to what they can label as emergency.
So that whole idea of using the term emergency is a nice, easy way to get around, because you can still say, well, we were under our spending cap, so we stayed within our budget, but then we had this little supplemental thing because there was, quote, an emergency. And that's how we end up with a lot of really bad spending. Now, I'm all for Congress being in session next week. I think there's a number of things that they should get done that need to get done. But we have to be very careful, because this is the time of year where spending goes crazy for a lot of us and definitely for members of Congress. Now, this was one of the really important things. Romina let us in on a little inside source that next week they're actually going to release a report from Cato that is going to take a look at how emergency spending has been a significant driver in our national debt. Take a listen.
Next week, we're planning to release a new report that for the first time will tally up the past 30 years of emergency spending, and it shows that this is a sizable figure now, with $12 trillion of total emergency spending that we've been able to identify over the past 30 years. That accounts for almost 43% of the entire publicly held debt accumulated over that period of time. So it's a major driver of our deficits and debt.
That is going to be an important conversation that we will have next week with Romina Baccia when that report comes out from Cato Institute. And I just want you to wrap your head around that. Over the past 30 years, if you look at the $26 trillion we've added to our national debt, 43% of that has been added under the label emergency spending. There are not that many emergencies. It shouldn't be 43% of our debt. We'll talk about that next week in a deep dive. All right, that wraps it up for us on Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. I am Boyd Matheson. Thanks for listening today. And as always, as you go out into the world, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something that makes a difference.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.